We're continuing with our Lonnie Fest this month. The Faces of Intention, our Lonnie-inspired theme for the month, because that was what his last sermon would have been. The sermon he would have done here a few weeks ago would have had to deal with the Faces of Intention. So that's what we've been dealing with all month, the Faces of Intention. And there are 7 faces that he mentions in his talk, and they are creativity, love, kindness, beauty, receptivity, expansion, and abundance. So I remembered them all. We've dealt with love, we've dealt with kindness, and today we're going to be talking about beauty. And love and beauty kind of go together. Well, they all do really, but beauty and love kind of go hand in hand. But just really beginning to just look at beauty and what that means for our lives. And my topic today is you as the beholder. And I selected that topic because we always hear that beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. So rather than, and the beholder is one who's beholding beauty, one who's looking at, one who's seeing it. And so much more than that. We are so much more than that. I want us to become the beholder, to experience beauty, to be open to it, to be expressing it, to be one with it. And that's what the as means, you as the beholder, rather than you are the beholder, because you are indicates that you're looking at it, that you're external, that you are separate from it. But when you are as the beholder in beauty, you are one with it, and that's the idea that I had when in selecting that topic today. Beauty as a beholder. And when we start to really think about beauty, and beauty being defined as a thing or a person who brings pleasure to the senses and to the mind, and it's so much more than that. It's so much more than that, because when we think about beauty and the senses, we think of sight, we think of seeing it. Sometimes we think of hearing it, but we think mostly of seeing it. And it's so much more than that also. And beauty is a God quality. Beauty is a spiritual quality. Beauty is God in expression. And beauty is a part of who we are. We are one with it. And I think that's what we really want to look at today. And as I think about the experience that we're having in this community as we go through this time of transition, there's a beauty in that. There's a beauty in that. Even though it's difficult, even though it's painful, even though we wish it were not so, it is, and we still move through it. And there's a beauty in us moving through it rather than trying to get over it. There's a beauty in us accepting each other as we move through it, and supporting each other as we move through it, and not saying get over it, because there's no statute of limitations on grief. So keeping that in mind, then we can really open up and support each other and find the beauty in this transition period that we're going through. Find the beauty in the way that we're living through it. Find the beauty in the way that we're moving through it and supporting each other through it. And sometimes that's a tall order. Sometimes that's a tall order. Let's take a breath. Sometimes that's a tall order. And we can do it, because we're not doing it alone. And so beginning to think of yourself as the beholder, and think of ourselves as the beholder of beauty, I think is a wonderful thing. And another thing that happens when we start to explore beauty is look at love, because as I said, love and beauty go hand in hand. And when a community or when our lives are going through transition, that's a fertile ground for fear to come up. It's a fertile ground for fear, because we're tossed into the not know, and trying to learn how to live in the not know is scary. And that's what happens in our own personal lives. That's what happens in our communities, and that's what happens all around us. And we know that we don't have to be in fear. We can be in love. We can live in love. We can walk in love, and we can know that God is love. God is beauty. God is all around us, supporting us, loving us, lifting us up, caring for us, one with us, ever present. We know all that. And there's beauty in that also, in knowing that. And so just exploring this whole notion of beauty over these last few days has been an eye-opener, because beauty is opening. Beauty opens us up to possibilities. When we think about beholding beauty, we think about, or looking for beauty in everything, we think about the sunset, we think about the roses, we think about the flowers, and these are beautiful. Thank you all, and thank you to the donor who gave them to me. I really appreciate it. It made me very full during the first service. It was such a surprise. And I was surprised that I was tearing up during the service also when Deb announced these. I really do appreciate them, and they bring beauty to me and into my life and into my heart. And I share that with all of you. And let's take a, I'm sorry? Thank you. Oh, let's take a breath. Thank you. Oh, let's breathe that in. Yes, I accept. I accept. Thank you very much. Yes. Yeah, breathe. Yeah, breathe. Beauty is all around us. It plays hide and seek with us, and we're the seekers. We have to seek it out sometimes. Sometimes we have to dig deep for it. We have to dig deep for it, depending on what's going on in our lives, depending on what's going on in our experience at any given time. We have to really dig deep for it. We have to dig deep to see it. As I started to say, we can see a sunset. We know animals or babies or flowers or the thing, or the ocean, or whatever it is that represents beauty for us. You know, they said the beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So beauty means different things to us, to each one of us. And so we know how to look for those things with our eyes, but beauty is something we experience with all of our senses. We smell it, we see it, we feel it, we hear it. It's all around, we taste it. It's all around us, always. And it's so much so that we begin to take it for granted. And as the reading said, we don't take beauty for granted. Be in awe every time you see it. Be surprised every time beauty shows up in your life. There's a reading by Howard Thurman, an essay by him. I can't remember it, but I just remember the name of it as The Glad Surprise. And that's what beauty is. Allow beauty to be a glad surprise in your life. You know, it's one thing to have a surprise, but a glad surprise? That's really, really great. I don't know why that popped into my mind right then, but a glad surprise is what we want to experience, because there's beauty in that. And there's beauty in everything. And so that's what we are, I'm encouraging you to really look at and look for through this time that we're going through right now. And through our lives, period, because all the things that are going on in the world outside this place that we call home, there's a whole world out there. There's a whole world out there that doesn't always look beautiful, that doesn't always sound beautiful. And we have to see the beauty, again, in everything. Look for it in everything. And when we start to look for beauty and see it in everything, we see it with different eyes. And as I said, it opens us up. It opens us up. I shared the story in the first service. I don't think I've shared it here before, but if I have, I'll share it again. Some years ago, I lived in Santa Cruz, California. And I was having some difficulties with a friend, and we've been going back and forth, and there was some issues going on in our relationship, and I was very unhappy, and things were just really devolving into a messy situation. And I had gone through a period of being very uncomfortable, very just not feeling good, and going through a whole period of forgiveness and forgiveness classes that I was facilitating and taking myself and all that, and I just was in a place where I just didn't feel good. So I decided that what I needed to do was go shopping. Just needed to shop, do a little retail therapy. So, but what I wanted to shop for was a comforter. I decided I'm going to redecorate my bedroom. I'm going to buy a comforter, and that's going to make me feel better and make all my problems go away. Now, so I got in my car, and I headed out to the Capitola Mall. And Craig told me today he lived in Capitola, so he knows where that is. The Capitola Mall, I headed toward. And as I'm driving down the freeway, just before I got to the exit for the Capitola Mall, the exit just before that, I saw a sign for Ross stores. And I thought, I'd never been to Ross before. Maybe they have a comforter over there. Maybe I'll go in there and see if I can find one. So I got off, and I went in Ross, and I walked all around, and I looked at all the comforters they had, and they didn't have one that I wanted. I wasn't sure what I wanted, but I didn't see it. And as I'm walking on through the store looking at the other things, one of the employees comes out of the back room pushing a cart with paintings and different things that he was about to put on the shelf. And just as he pushed past me, there was one standing up among the pile of all those paintings that were in there, and it fell off the cart right in front of me. And you know those wall things that have quotes on them? That's what this was. The one about 12 by 24 with little bronze-looking frame on it. And when it fell, I looked down because I stepped back, and it said, "Be still and know that I am God." Let's take a breath on that one. That stopped me dead in my tracks. Be still and know that I am God. I'm like, really? At Ross? Really? I couldn't leave it there on the floor. Be still and know that I am God. So I knew that this was for me. So I picked it up and I bought it. And I went back home. I didn't even go to Macy's, which is where I was headed. And when I got back home and I took it out of the paper and I was just looking at it, it came to me. Before I left home, I had set my intention to go and buy a comforter. My intention was to get a comforter. Yeah. My intention, I'll say it again. My intention was to get a comforter. Let's breathe that one in. Honestly, when I really got the import of that, it made me shake because the message was so profound. My intention was to get a comforter when I left home. And I did. Be still and know that I am God. And all that stuff that I had been dealing with before I left home, and I was feeling so awful and feeling all that emotional turmoil and stuff, it just dissipated. It just dissolved. It just went away. Because I was so blown away by that message that had come to me in such a profound manner that something shifted. Something shifted within me. So I put it in my bedroom, and there was a wall on the right side of the bed with a bookcase, and I put it right over the bookcase so that whenever I turned over in the bed, I could see it. Be still and know that I'm God. This was almost 15 years ago, and it's been in every bedroom I've had since then. It's been on the right side of the bed over that bookcase, that same bookcase. So fast forward to this morning, 5 o'clock maybe. I turned over in bed, and I saw that quote, "Be still and know that I am God," and I was taking a deep breath. And I had noticed before that on one end, there's a bird, and on the other end, there's a tree. And it looks like, I couldn't think of it this morning, cherry blossoms, with the white leaves and all, white blossoms and all. And I was just still looking at the bird, and then all of a sudden I realized that in one of the branches there was a nest with 2 eggs. Now, I don't know if I've ever seen that before, but I saw it this morning. I became aware of it in a different kind of way, and I kept looking at it thinking, there's no way I could have missed this nest with these 2 eggs in it, so I'm sure that it's been there before. I just didn't notice it, but I was really noticing it, and then I started to really just pay attention to this painting, And I started to behold it. I started to behold this painting, and I realized that the bird seemed to have something in its mouth. Now, I know I had never seen that before. So I got up and got my glasses and put them on, turned the light on, and walked over to the painting to see was there really something in the bird's mouth. And there was a twig. First I thought it was a worm, but it was too long to be a worm. Then I recognized that it was a twig, and the nest was not completed. So apparently the bird was in the process of building the nest. And there was a twig in his mouth, and it was sitting on a wall that I had never seen before. So it's sitting here on this wall with a twig in its mouth, and there's a nest over here with 2 eggs, and I could tell from broken places in the nest that that's how I could tell it had not been completed, because there were broken places in it. Wow. Breathe that in. I've had this for 15 years. I had never seen that before. I had never become aware of what was happening here. The bird was making a place for new life. God is making a place for new life. All of this has been happening before my eyes all these years, and I'd never seen that before. I'd never paid attention to that before. So while I was there with my glasses on, I just took the painting off the wall and then really looked at it really closely. And I saw that the artist's name was at the bottom, very faintly written in. I'd never seen that before. Her first name was Stephanie. I couldn't read the last name. But I just thought how much detail she went to in doing this. I had been so aware all these years of the words and the message, be still and know that I am God, which was very, very important and still is very important to me, that I also missed the surrounding beauty, the bigger message, the larger message. And that's what happens to us sometimes. We get so caught up in the ones that we focus on, the things that are screaming at us. That message was screaming at me. Be still and know that I am God, the big letters out there. But off to the side, there was this bird with a twig. And there was this nest that was not completed yet with 2 eggs in it. And the bird was making preparation for bringing new life in. How awesome is that? God is always, always taking care of itself as whatever it is, as whatever life form it is. God is always caring for itself. God is always, always, always looking for new ways to express. And it was expressing through this bird and through this nest and through these eggs, through this potential. That's what the eggs are, pure potentiality. That's what they are. And God was expressing through me as I was observing this, and for the first time, waking up going, where have I been for 15 years? I didn't see this before. But I didn't, because I was looking at other things. I wasn't really focused on it. This is how we get to become a beholder. Becoming a beholder, really paying attention to the details, because beauty's in the details of every aspect of our lives. Whether we call it good or bad or indifferent, beauty is in the details. And we have to look for that beauty. We have to look for that beauty so that we can experience it. And as we experience it, we get to open up and we get to express it even more, and we get to share it with each other, and we get to live these lives of ours full out. We get to live out loud. We get to live as beholders. And we get to experience more than the sunset and the flowers and the things that we traditionally call beauty. We get to experience life. We get to experience support. We get to experience comfort. We get to experience the power and the presence of God wherever we are. Wherever we are, whatever it is we're doing. And we get to call it beautiful. We get to call it beauty because we get to see the beauty in it. Let's take a breath. Khalil Gibran in the Prophet says that beauty is not the image that you would see or the song that you would hear, but rather beauty is the image you would see when you close your eyes and the song you would hear when you shut your ears. Beauty is life unveiling its face, but you are life and you are the veil. Beauty is gazing at itself in a mirror. Beauty is eternity, Beauty is eternity gazing at itself in a mirror. But you are eternity and you are the mirror. We are beauty itself. God is beauty itself. We are one with God. We have to be beauty also. And so when we come to know that, we come to live a whole different kind of life. It's a whole other Oprah show. Right? When we come to know that we are one with beauty, that we are beauty itself, and not be afraid to experience it, not be afraid to open to it, even though it may look ugly initially, even though it may be painful, may feel painful, even though it may smell stinky. When we can look beyond that to the beauty inside, then that's when we get to open up and to live an expansive life, to live the life that we were created to live. That's when we get a chance to really do life and do it in a big kind of way. And so let's just breathe and think about that. I invite you this week coming up to think about 3 things. How do you experience, 3 things in the context of how do you experience beauty in your own life? Where's the beauty in your own life? How much beauty do you see? How much beauty do you hear? How much beauty do you share? How much beauty are you? How much beauty are you putting into the world? How much beauty are you receiving? How much are you beholding? How much are you living as the beholder? Because as I said, when we open up to behold and to experience it and to express it, our entire being becomes God's dwelling place. Our entire being becomes God's dwelling place. Think about that. Our entire being becomes God's dwelling place when we can really recognize our oneness with beauty. Our oneness with God is what we're recognizing. Our oneness with the only thing that is what we're recognizing. And we get a chance to open up and allow that onlyness that is God to dwell in every aspect of our being. Our entire being becomes God's dwelling place. That's pretty powerful. That's pretty awesome. And when we set our intention to do that, we can open up and say, oh God, allow my being, let my being be your dwelling place. Setting our intention to do that and see how our lives take off then. See how our lives take off at that point. So the 3 things I want to say is, in concentrating on beauty, this is something we want to do. Let's do it forever, but let's do it for sure this week. Let's concentrate on beauty. And one of the things that I like to try is suggesting that you put a bow. That's B-O-W. Some people don't really get my Alabama accent. So they don't always know what I'm saying. The first service didn't quite, a what? A bow, a B-O-W. Take a bow, a ribbon, and put it on a plant closest to your door in your house, closest to your front door. If you don't have a plant, wrap it around a chair or something. But the point is, put a bow on it, and every time you pass that plant or that bow, stop and thank God for the beauty that you're experiencing naturally in your life and the beauty that you experience regularly in your life. Take a breath. Put a bow on a plant or a chair, a plant if you have one, and every time you pass it, say, thank you, God, for the beauty that I experience naturally and regularly in my life. You think it'll last a whole week? Because you know how often we pass things and don't see them? They become a part of the woodwork. They become a part of the surroundings. We don't even, you could leave a piece of paper on the floor the first few times you pass it, you see it. After that, you don't see it anymore. It becomes part of the floor. I invite you not to let that happen with the bow. Put a bow on a plant, and every time you pass it, say, thank you, God, for the beauty in my life. The beauty that I see, the beauty that I'm experiencing, the beauty that's expressing around me regularly and naturally always. See what happens for you this week when you do that. See what happens. Take a breath. The second thing is to think about this community and the transition that we've been going through, the grieving that we've been experiencing and expressing, and see the beauty in that. Think about the beauty that you have experienced, that you have witnessed, that you have expressed throughout this time that we've been going through what we've been going through these last couple of months, almost 2 months, month and a half. But just think about it. Think about the encounters you've had with others. Think about the relationships you have with others or not. Think about how you have walked through this time and see the beauty. Think about the beauty you have experienced, you have expressed, you have witnessed, you have been a beholder of over this last few weeks. Just really think about it. Think about the beauty you have experienced or the beauty you can begin to experience if you shift your perspective. If you shift your perspective of the situation and say, I know there's beauty in here. There's beauty in the midst of this pain. There's beauty in the midst of this grief. There's beauty in the midst of all of this. Because there's God in the midst of it. But really ask yourself that as you go through this week. Be consciously aware of your experiences as you go through this week. I was listening to an interview on NPR yesterday with Todd Fisher, who is the son of Debbie Reynolds and the brother of Carrie Fisher. And the interviewer was asking him about, well, he has written a new book. It's called My Girls, about his mother and his sister. And the interviewer was asking him about having lost his sister one day and his mother the next day, and the pain that must have been, how terrible that must have been for him. And his response was, yes, it was hard, but it was so beautiful. It was a beautiful experience. Well, that, through the interview, I could just tell from the energy of the radio, that wasn't the response. So the interviewer came back around and said, yeah, but it must have been really terrible. You lost your sister dies one day, and then your mom dies the next day. How did you deal with that? That must have been terrible. He said, it was beautiful. Yes, it was painful, and it was beautiful. The interviewer wasn't to be denied, because he came back around again. And he restated his question. That still boiled down to, how'd you deal with that? That had to be the worst thing that could have happened. Your sister dies one day, your mother dies the next day. And Todd says, yes, it was painful, and it was beautiful. It was a beautiful experience. He said, what was beautiful about it was that my mother and Carrie were very, very close. And his mother had a stroke, he explained that, and then she was getting better, and things were going along. And then Carrie Fisher died, and he said, my mom was in bed, I was lying in bed with her, and she said to me, I have to be with Carrie. And he said, and then she fell asleep, and she never woke up. He said, that was beautiful. She chose where she wanted to be and how she wanted to go. She just went to sleep and she didn't wake up again. Yes, he missed them. He misses them every day. It was a very, very painful experience, and he couldn't get over the talk about the beauty of it, the beauty of choice, the beauty of his mom doing it in her own way, the beauty of that experience of being there with her at that time, having her tell him what she was going to do, and then she did it. That was what he wanted to talk about. the beauty of it. And he admitted, yes, there was pain, and this was a beautiful experience. And it reminded me that I was with my mom when she passed away. And I always called it a gift. It was such a gift to me to have been with her at that time. I didn't think about beauty until I heard him say that yesterday. The word beauty didn't come up. I just knew that it was a gift to be there with her and to share that time with her and to walk that walk with her through that time. But when he described it as beautiful, I thought, yes, that's the word. That's what I experienced. And so that's what we are experiencing now. And so I'm inviting each of you to find the beauty in this situation that we're going through right now. Find the beauty in this journey that we are sharing right now. Find the beauty in your interactions with each other or whatever it is. Find whatever the beauty is for you. Only you know, as the beholder, what that is for you. So I invite you to do that for yourself. Do that for yourself. Find the beauty in that situation. Let's take a breath. The third thing is, and I talked about this a little bit last week, is sing that song, I Am, this week. I am as God created me. I am the light of the world. That is powerful. I am as God created me. I am a light in this world. I am as God created me. When we get into that I am, you know we're into that oneness thing with the I am. But when we get into that I am, and then add to that as God created me, how can we criticize ourselves? How can we judge ourselves? How can we dislike ourselves? How can we beat up on ourselves? How can we do anything but accept ourselves with love and open-heartedness and appreciate ourselves for who we are and being the I am that God created, being a light in this world. When we get to you are as God created you, when we're looking at others, we don't have to walk up to them and say that. People here might understand it, but people, once we leave here and we walk up and say, you are as God created you, they may or may not like it. But you can look at them and knowing that truth about them. You are as God created you. You are a light in this world. You are as God created you. You are, you are, you are. Let's take a breath. And then we are as God created us. We are a light in this world. That connotes oneness. We are as God created us. We are each made in the image and likeness and out of God itself. We are as God created us. We are a light in this world according to our own uniqueness, according to the way that we were created to express God. We are, we are, we are. And so recognizing that when we're away from this place, recognizing that when we're out into the world, we can make a difference in the world just by allowing it to start with us, recognizing it. We can make a difference in the world. Some people don't like the peace song. I love it because let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me. Let there be beauty on earth, let it begin with me. Let there be a recognition of beauty on earth and let it begin with me. It all starts with each one of us. And just think, our mothers told us it's not all about you. But it is. You come to Science of Mind and it is. It's all about us. So it's all about us deciding that we're going to live in oneness. We're going to see beauty everywhere. We're going to recognize beauty everywhere, even when we have to dig deep, even when we have to look, pull the covers back, even when we have to pull layers and layers and layers of stuff back, even when our senses get dulled by external things, and our senses do get dulled by external things. Even then, there's beauty already there. There's beauty already there. There's beauty already there. Ernest Holmes says, what you're looking for is what you're looking with. What you're looking for is what you're looking with. What you're looking for is what you're looking with. So the beauty is already within you. You are already that. You're already that. You are eternity in the mirror, says Gibran. You're already beauty. The beauty is you. That's the secret of beauty. I said the beauty is me. The beauty is you. The beauty is each of us. And so let's live full out and express it so that when we're ready to leave this plane and move on to the next, no holds barred. We don't have any regrets. We don't have anything. We just really live out loud, really live full out, right here and right now, expressing the beauty that we can express right here and right now. And I'm going to end with one of my favorite poems. It's by Donna Markova. She wrote a book by the same name. I will not die an unlived life. I will not die an unlived life is the name of it. I will not die an unlived life. I will not live in fear of falling or catching fire. I choose to inhabit my days, to allow my living to open me, to make me more accessible, less afraid. I choose to risk my significance, to live so that which came to me as seed goes to the next as blossom, and that which came to me as blossom goes on as fruit. I will not die an unlived life. Let's breathe that in. Live beauty. Live God. Live in oneness. God bless you. Let's take a breath as we just move into prayer in this moment. Just moving into that place where we just know and we sense and we feel the presence of God all around us. Knowing that that presence of God is right where we are always. There's no separation, can be no separation. Knowing that we are each made in the image and likeness and out of pure spirit itself. Nothing changes that. Nothing changes that. Even our own perception, even our own moving away, even our own sense of separation, nothing can separate us from this allness that is God. And so as we move into alignment now with this allness, with this fullness, with this onlyness that is God, knowing that this onlyness is my very life, knowing that this onlyness is the life of each of us here this day, it is from this place of awareness that I speak my word for each of us here this day. I speak a word of beauty. There's a healing power in beauty. And I know that that healing power expresses itself in and through and as each one of us here this day. That we each become the beholder of the beauty that is God. We each become the beholder of the magnificence that is God. We each become the beholder of the power and the presence of God that is everywhere. And as we do this, our lives change. As we do this, we are releasing and letting go of those things that don't serve us. As we do this, we're opening ourselves up, making ourselves available to God, to the presence, to the allness and the fullness. We're making ourselves available to wholeness and oneness. And all things are made new in this place of oneness. And so for each of us, I'm accepting this newness, this new day, in this now moment. I'm accepting healing for each of us. Whether it's healing in the body temple, our bodies of affairs, our financial affairs, relationships, wherever the healing needs to happen, it is happening right here, right now. But God is always showing up as support, and whatever it is we need, God shows up as the thing itself. Whatever it is, God is always showing up as that thing in our lives, and all indeed as well. And so this prayer goes out to anyone on this planet needing a prayer this day, just knowing that God is in the midst of every situation and circumstance, everywhere present. With this circle of prayer being open, I pause momentarily so that you may speak the names of anyone you'd like held in prayer. You may speak their names silently or loud, but you may speak them now. For all those whose names were spoken, God is in the midst, everywhere. A special word is spoken, a special word of blessing for Reverend Michelle, just knowing that right where she is, God is. And that there's peace and harmony and courage and strength and love and light and support and all needs being met for her right now, right where she is. Right where she is. Right where she is. A special word of blessing to Reverend Lonnie as we just continue to bless him on his way, as he adjusts to his new surroundings, as he adjusts to his new expression of life, knowing that right where he is, God is, everywhere present. How awesome it is to know this truth and to accept it for each of us. Thank you, Father, Mother God. Thank you, Infinite Presence. Thank you, Divine Mother. I know that all is well, and I just allow it to be. And so it is.